Welcome to Season 3 of Home Value Stories. I'm Jamie Owen. This is a podcast that is designed to educate you on residential real estate and real estate valuations. In this first episode of Season 3, I'm going to be talking about split-level homes, how they got their start, and some tips that you can keep in mind when trying to price your home or when you're looking to buy a split-level home to make sure that you have a good understanding of market value, especially when it relates to the gross living area of these kinds of homes. I hope you enjoy. How did the split-level home get started? Well, it goes something like this. One day, there was a creative architect, and he thought to himself, what if a ranch and a colonial had a baby? What would it look like? And thus, the split-level home was born. It's so cute. No, that's not really how split-level homes got their start, as you probably already know. To find out the origins of the split-level home, we have to go back to the 1950s and 60s. In the 1950s and 60s, people were moving into the suburbs, and they were looking for something a little different than your simple ranch-style dwelling or the all-famous Cape Cod-style dwellings or Sears bungalows of the time. And so the split-level home offered something a little different. It was grander than your simple ranch, but it wasn't quite as tall as a colonial. Split-level dwellings had become popular on sloping properties, because building a split-level home on a sloping property was a little easier than building a ranch on the same property. With the debut of the Brady Bunch show, the split-level dwelling really took off. People loved the way that the split-level home was laid out, where you had a lower level that could be for the kids to play in. They could be crazy and noisy. And then you had a large open area, living room, with big vaulted ceilings and open spaces. And then, of course, you had your more private living areas on the next level. And the nice thing about the split-level home is that you don't have to traverse a great deal of stairs to get from one level to another. Of course, there's still a lot of climbing when you live in a split-level dwelling, but at least it's staggered. And those staggered floors make for a more quiet home, a more quiet home office for that matter, which are very popular these days. And you can find many split-level homes in different levels. There's 2-level, 3-level splits, even 4-level splits. And while we don't see a lot of new construction split-level homes these days, I am seeing new homes that have more of a staggered approach to the living areas. So they're kind of more of a hybrid style split-level home. Some people love them, some people hate them. There's no question that split-level homes are going to be here for a long time. Let's take a little break and talk about our sponsor. Home Value Stories is sponsored by FindMyAppraiser.com. FindMyAppraiser.com is a network of trusted, knowledgeable local appraisers dedicated to delivering accurate, quality valuations for your home or business. If you're looking for an excellent appraiser in your area, go to FindMyAppraiser.com. They have the best appraisers that care about you, the consumer. Now that we've talked about the origin of the split-level dwelling, let's talk about how to price it accurately for the market. If you're a real estate agent or a homeowner and you're trying to price a split-level dwelling, there's some things that you should keep in mind in order to price it accurately. Getting the gross living area right when you price your home is so important. Let me share a story with you that I experienced a while back that demonstrates why this is important. I appraised a split-level property for a purchase. And in this case, my client was the bank, and they were funding this with a Fannie Mae loan. Now, my opinion of value was about $25,000 below the contract price. That's considerable. Interestingly, this particular property had been renovated about 3 years ago. It was listed on and off of the market since it had been renovated and hadn't sold until just recently. Originally, it was listed in the $150,000 range, and then they raised the price to somewhere in the $160,000 range. They had it listed for over 3 years, and it never sold in those price ranges. Now, that should tell you something, don't you think? Then it was recently listed again in the upper 160s and then sold in the mid 170s. Well, in the hot market that we're in, that's not surprising. And it did have a great deal of market appeal because of the renovations. It was a beautiful home. Now, the county auditor reflected this property as having 1,200 square feet of gross living area, and it was listed as such, as having 1,200 square feet. It was also listed as having 4 bedrooms and 1.5 bathrooms. Now, during my inspection, like in every situation, I always measure the property, and I measured the property in this appraisal as well, and I measured the property at 960 square feet. Now, the other portions were either partially or fully below grade, including one of the bedrooms and the half bathroom. So instead of the home being a 1,200 square foot, 4-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom home, it was actually a 960 square foot home with 3 bedrooms and only 1 bathroom that was above grade. Well, do you see a value difference there? Using several different methods, I estimated the market price per square foot in this area to be around $70 per square foot for gross living area. Now, the difference between 1,200 square feet and 960 square feet, based on $70 a square foot, is about $17,000. Now, based upon my research and analysis, the difference between having 1 full bathroom versus having 1.5 bathrooms was about $3,500. So add that to the mix. Now, to add insult to injury, the property only had a 1-car garage versus most homes in that neighborhood that had 2-car garages. It was really underimproved in comparison to other comparable homes. Now, based upon my research and analysis in this area, a 2-car garage was getting about $7,000 more than a home with a 1-car garage. Now, on top of all of that, the subject property was located on a street that experienced heavy traffic, whereas most of the homes in the area that were comparable were on streets that did not have or did not experience heavy traffic. So now you can see why my opinion of value was $25,000 less than the contract price. By the way, I had some excellent comparable sales, one of which was located on the same street, experiencing that heavy traffic. Now, here's something else that's interesting. If the subject's gross living area, bedroom, and bathroom count were as reported in the MLS, if it really was a 1,200 square foot property with 4 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms, then the sales price or the market value would have been much closer and really in the ballpark of the contract price. But obviously, it wasn't. Even the most seasoned real estate agents sometimes don't really understand why we don't count these partially below grade areas in the gross living area. So I highly recommend that if you're a real estate agent, a homeowner that's looking to price your home, read through that section of Fannie Mae's 2019 Selling Guide or FHA's 4000.1 Handbook or other things online that you might find regarding standards for gross living area measurement. And I think that you're going to find that what I'm telling you is true. And that's really going to save you a lot of grief down the road. One thing that I find also is that if you go by the gross living area that the county auditor reflects, sometimes they're including these partially below grade areas in their gross living area. So you can't rely on that alone. You really have to either measure the property, or you can hire a real estate appraiser to measure the property, or some other qualified professional. But I highly recommend that you do measure the property to get the correct gross living area. You also have to be careful when it comes to 2-level or 3-level splits, because it can make a difference in value as well. Sometimes you've got a partially below grade area that we would value as basement area, and it may be finished basement area, it may be unfinished. And then sometimes there's an additional lower level that's fully below grade, and it may be finished or unfinished. So one property, you might have a 2-level split with basically a half a basement. You might have a 3-level split that's basically got a full basement size. So you have to consider that as well, because all of that adds to value. And the bigger the basement, oftentimes the bigger the basement, the more valuable the home. And obviously, the more finished basement area a home offers, generally, that increases the value of the home as well. Another tip I can offer that might help out is if you have a split-level home, do everything that you can to use other comparable split-level homes to price your home. Because if you use a ranch or a colonial to try to come up with a listing price for your home, this is where it gets really dicey with gross living area. See, you'll have a ranch with the basement, then you have to determine, is that a full basement or a partial basement? How much of that area is finished? Then you've got to look at your home. If you have a split level home, how much of that is below grade? How much of that finished square footage is below grade? And then the same with the colonial. Oftentimes, people will double dip with split level properties. So they'll include that partially below grade living area in their basement count, and then they'll also include it in their gross living area square foot. It has to be one or the other. It can't be both basement area and gross living area. It's one or the other. So hopefully this little podcast episode helps you to appreciate some things that you can keep in mind when appraising or pricing a split level property that will help you to keep out of trouble.